Hello YouTube, I am the Ginger Squatch, and you guys have asked for a video entailing better cable management on the computer that I've been using. Well, I've almost got it done. I still have a few things left to run, but this is the mass majority of it. And for those of you that will constantly state that cable management means better airflow, yes, I know you're right. It's just, well, this still isn't even the final iteration of this computer. I'm going to have to pull all this back out again because I plan on putting faster processors and faster RAM in it. And if I can get the motherboard to play nice, I'm going to try, I don't know if it'll work, but I'm going to try to put 16 gigabytes of RAM in it. You have to remember, this is an old DDR2 system, at which point, yeah, it was, in fact, this machine, it was never meant to be anything like this. This was the technical evaluation unit. This was more or less just to see if there was even a market for anything like this. At which point, with the dual FX processors, no. It lagged behind the what was it, the Q6600, the Intel quad core. However, when they re-released the system with the WS/B, and then the 8-core Opterons were released, well then, that changed the game a bit. Because now, you could do something that you couldn't do before. You could run 8 cores. Literally. You could run the 2 quad core, I'm sorry. 2 quad core Opteron processors, which gave you the effective 8 cores, and yeah. Now granted, yes, it was not as good as today's systems, but you gotta think, this thing was from what? Between 06 to 09, and yeah, they stuck server equipment into an enthusiast board. Well, it was an interesting and novel idea, but the implementation on this one failed. I do, however, like the fact that let's see here. One thing that they did do that I do like is behind the video card back here is the South Bridge. But it's not one of them. It's actually 2 560A South Bridge chips, which that's how they were able to, back then, get the 5 PCI slots. Now granted that 4 of them are the by 16, one of them is a by 1, but then that also gave them the capability to run 12 SATA ports, god awful amount of USB. And just, there's so much I/O on this board, it's crazy. I have a hard time keeping up with which I/O I'm actually plugging into, because you've got the breakout panel on the top, then there's a breakout panel on the back, and and then on top of that I stuck an additional USB card in, but I have yet as of yet to use it. That's 8 USB, and then there is the SD card reader in the front. So yeah, and there's actually a single USB header slot that's left unused. So if I ever upgrade the power supply, I would be able to get one that actually had the USB connection. But nonetheless, let me stop rambling and get on with straightening this thing up. Come on. These hooks are just those old cheap, like, wall hooks for putting, like, coffee cups along your kitchen wall and stuff. But let's see here. Alright, so here we go. Get this. In. Pardon me. Alright, now let's see if we can get this guy back in place. Come on now. Drop in. That's in. Doesn't quite want to cooperate. Come on. Come on. I'll have to mess with that in a moment. But yeah, I've rerun all of the SATA and power connectors. Yeah, let me go ahead and get this run. It'll be a lot easier without you staring at my back. So, I'll be right back. Alright, so, took me much longer than I had originally anticipated, but I'll get everything pretty much out of the way. Getting all the wiring for the cooling fans for the RAM and everything else was a bit of a pain, because it's hard to work in this area, especially with there's a fan right here. It makes it much harder to work with. But yeah. Well, and that's all run down. Now granted, I do have a big cluster of the SATA cables down here, but that's only because that's heading to the actual SATA ports on the motherboard. Which, interesting fact, as I had said before, this thing has 12 of them. But yeah. So, that was a lot. Alright, well, thank you guys. If you liked it, leave a like. If you didn't like it, leave a dislike. Either way, let me have a comment. That way I know what I'm doing right or wrong. And I'll see you all in the next run.